Okay, you are now
Hello,
being.
cousins. Welcome to S.A.S.S, our spirituality and support symposium. Think morning witchy chats around a warm campfire. The recording has started, and by participating in S.A.S S, you agree to read and accept the terms of engagement, which are posted here in the chat and on our website under the S.A.S Mass tab as well. We ask that you mute during the recording for clarity during the meeting and for the afterplay. We will get started with a few announcements and then get into all the good witchy stuff.
Oh, hello, everyone. Um, I don't have many announcements really, except that the autumnal convergence info is posted on our website for members of Bright and Dark. So if you are interested in joining us, the end of September, beginning of October. You can check that out. If you have any questions about that or anything else, you can email support at brightanddark.org. That's it. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Maria. And thank you, Roxanne, for modding for us today. This is a busy time of year for most of us. And so any little bit of time that anyone is volunteering, I really, really appreciate that. I see you. I see what you're doing. I appreciate you. Uh, how was your week this week? I had some interesting experiences. And first, like, I don't know, I feel like does anyone have any burning questions, or did you anyone come here like, "Hey, I really want to talk about this thing." If not, I'm going to just continue to ramble. Okay, so I have been getting this. I just put out a video, I think it was yesterday, talking about this, but I've been getting these, like, a lot of you guys know that I've been working on balance in my life, right? Practicing what I preach and actually allowing my physical body a place at the table when it comes to the decisions that I make about life. Like, what are we going to be doing, right? And some of that is also in cultivating a relationship with my local community, right? And so in Alaska, that can be really challenging because we're so spread out. Uh, and kind of connecting with other magical practitioners that are local can be difficult because of that. And also, there's a shocking number of churches up here. And so witchcraft is still, kind of we're about 10 years behind the lower 48 in just about everything. So about 10 years behind in fashion, about 10 years behind in music. It's just the way that things work. So there are challenges with connecting as witches up here. Anyway, I am so accustomed to navigating magical spaces where people know who I am and know what I do. And so there isn't this, like, I don't need to prepare anyone. Does that make sense? For, the conversations that I tend to like lean into. And so I went to this local gathering that was like literally 7 minutes from my house, which is unheard of. So it's like right down the street from my house in this really cute, it's like an oddities shop, like an antique and oddities shop that's run by a witch who is an excellent palm reader. And I had reached out to them a few weeks ago and was like, "Hey, um, I told her like who I was and that I was like wanting to kind of connect with local witches, and kind of asked her if she wanted to have tea or something sometime, and blah blah blah." Well, she decided that she was going to have this like impromptu little like gathering, and she put out a Facebook invitation, and there were like 7 people that showed up, right? That nobody knew anybody else. And the only person there that knew who I was and what I did and all of that was the shop owner. And she was super cute because she started the circle talking about the full moon and the astrological like components of it and everything. And she kept glancing over at me. And then she kept making these comments. You probably know this. Uh, as she was talking and everything, and, like, it was great. It was I mean, it was cute because it was, like, her first time doing it, and you could really tell that she was being brave, and that she was nervous that I was there and was, like, extra careful about the way that she said things and everything, and I, like, tried to hang back, right? And when I go into new situations with new people, I tend to be an observer first, before I really engage, just kind of see where everyone is because I don't want to like dive off the deep end if they're just, kind of in the shallow areas because they like that can be really unsettling, right? To just like dive super deep. Anyway, and I was really proud of myself with my boundaries because they kept talking about, "Oh, it would be so much fun if we started doing full moon circles here and or at the little oddity shop." And a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, me would have been like, "Sure, I'd love to be involved in that. I'll show you how to do it and I'll help you guys figure out the ritual. I'll facilitate it, right?" But I didn't do that, and I'm so proud of myself because of that balance thing, right? I'm trying to take things off of my plate to live a more balanced life. But and the whole time, like I didn't really know uh like what to say or um I didn't know how to engage in that environment. So I can totally see why my guides were like, "Hey, you need to do this thing. You need to engage with which is firsthand instead of just online, which is what I've been doing for so long." And I noticed a lot of things, um, noticed how far I've come in my own practice since the last time I engaged in circles like that, which was like years ago, years and years ago, before I moved to Alaska, even. And like all of them that were there were relatively new practitioners. There were 2 of them that were readers, right? The palm reader. I keep wanting to say palmistry specialist, but I don't think that that's a thing, but that's what I want to say. And then there was a tarot reader who was actually a channel and didn't know that they're a channel, because they kept doing it while we were talking, and I've noticed that part of my gifting is coming forward in identifying the giftings of witches within a few minutes of talking to them and engaging with them. It's like that's all I can see is this like this alignment that they have, this like flow of power. I don't know how to describe that, but I didn't have consent to engage on that level with these people. And that was, like, the biggest thing, so I felt like, in a lot of ways, I was kind of tongue-tied because they were asking things like, um, "Have you ever done a full moon ritual? And what does your full moon ritual look like?" Right? And I didn't wanna take over the circle, right? And by just, like, blah, 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 uh, and for me, like asking that question, what do you want to do for a full moon ritual? What would you do in a room of people that maybe 2 of them have ever had any kind of experience with that? Uh, like the first question I would go into would be, what does a full moon ritual mean to you? Like as a witch, what does a full moon mean to you? Why would you want to have a full moon, a practice that aligns with the lunar cycles as a magical practitioner, right? So But I didn't say that. I held back, right? It wasn't until the very end that I finally broke and was like, "Okay, guys, I've been dying to talk this like whole time, and I don't, I didn't go into a lot of detail, but just letting them know that I'm like, I'm super passionate about all of the things that we're talking about here. It's literally what I do every day with like hundreds of witches. And I told them that I specialize in shadow work and deconstruction work, which is not a like, hi, nice to meet you. I'm someone you've never met before. Let's talk about your childhood trauma so that we can figure out what kind of full moon ritual is going to work best for you, right? Like, that's not what most practitioners expect when they're brand new, meeting another witch, right? Um, and I've realized that I have become the odd one even in witchcraft circles, because like witchcraft, magical circles, magical people are fucking weird. We're all weird. We're all weird in this like in these very cool ways. We're the weird ones in like neurotypical or like general society circles, right? But when we get together, we're among like peers for the most part, equal weird people. And I make the weird people uncomfortable is what I realized. Like the things that I talk about casually and am so accustomed to just like openly talking with people about their shadow, um, isn't something that I can do in a group of people that I do not know. And I didn't know that until I experienced this and was like, oh, wow, I have no idea how to navigate this dynamic because this isn't my circle. These people have never met me. Like, how do I even ask consent for that kind of a thing? So, yeah. And then the same kind of thing happened when I was live with Fen and Jack the other night. Fen is she's the host of Follow the Woo podcast, but she's also a member of a paranormal investigation team. And they were doing a fundraiser, so we went live on TikTok together, and they invited Jack, who is a vampire. He's both like a personality, like he dresses up like a vampire and does this like theatrical thing, right? But he also is an energetic vampire. And so they wanted me to do a ritual for them, right? And live. And, I don't do performative rituals for the sake of doing rituals. And I told them that. And uh, when we ended up doing a ritual, and you guys know how I do things. I like ask the questions of where they are and how their magic flows, which was very interesting with working with a vampire in a circle or an energetic vampire in a circle like that. Um, but it wasn't what they expected at all, and I could tell that. I could feel that they were thinking that it was gonna be, um, like a manifestation, right? Calling in, whatever it is that we're doing the fundraiser for. But we, of course, did a ritual for what they are in resistance to, what's in the way of them doing their manifestation work, which was really, interesting. But when I was trying to uh, talk to Jack about, like, to understand how his flow works, his shadow came forward, and I could see a lot of like private things, right? That he wouldn't necessarily want, like, me to just talk and ask him questions about for clarification. And I realized that in the middle of asking him questions, and I was like, okay, we don't have to go any deeper than that. I ended up sending him an apology message of like, hey, I didn't mean to, like, go into asking you questions about your childhood, but it's important for the work that I do so that I know exactly where you are so that we can, like, do effective shit anyway, so this is me being authentic and like, struggling with my, like, "What the fuck?" I'm entering this new era, I guess, in my own practice as I am feeling called to engage with, other content creators and other practitioners. Um, and I just don't know if I should be preparing people for me or if I should just like fucking go in and do the thing. And how does consent work with that? Because I know that they are not getting what they are expecting at all. And when I go into those deep places, they're like not put off by that, but definitely like it seems like it comes out of left field for them. And there's that shocking pause moment when I start asking questions. Go ahead, Maria. Are you want to weigh in? I
Yeah.
would love a weigh.
So, I hear you, like, for a lot of years when people would ask me advice and I would give them advice and, which I now now and not understanding how I would know information that I didn't know and realize that I was, like, channeling, and now I approach things differently. And really it wasn't until recently that I actually knew I was channeling the information, but anyways, I just thought I was really smart. No, just kidding. I'm joking. But what I was going to say is I wonder if like because I totally hear what you're saying, and I wonder if you had some time at some point to just like give a little intro or a little like spiel. So when someone like asks you to do something, you could be like, "Yeah, I'm definitely interested, but just here's a little bit about what I do." And then that way you could be like, is this what you were looking for? You know, and that way you have just like something that explains a little bit about how you, thank you, you explains a little bit about how you work. Um, but that because I think that with witchcraft coming above ground and being so there's so many things out there, especially on the TikTok and all of the things. And like you are not doing what, yeah, a lot of people like expect, or even when you go into the new age like shops and there's this and that. And it's actually like why I that type of like what is on social media or what is in the new age shops is why I never identified as a witch until I met you. Because I was like, oh, yes, that's witchcraft. I'm already doing that. So yes, I am a witch. But I didn't align with a lot of the things that I had access to. And so I was like, well, then I guess I'm not a witch, but these are the things that I like to do. So I would just say like, I'm kind of witchy, but I would say like, so there is a path for you. And there are going to be people that align with you, but like it is a deeper work, you know? And so like, if you've never talked about your emotions before and you come in like, yeah, it might be a little bit like, you know, you don't know, but also it might really help people, which you have helped so many people. So I guess all of that rambling was to say, I wonder if like we could even help like write, just like this is what I do and this is what I'm about. So when someone asks you, they already have that snippet, and then they can make an informed choice rather than like in the moment having to give consent. They'll have a little bit of time to like mull it over, like beforehand. So they could be like, do I want to talk about my childhood today? Or, you know, maybe they just want to meet you and then they're going to like book a private session, because maybe some people are just more comfortable doing that. But at least you've given them the information for them to choose, if because you have a website and you have private sessions, you have a whole program. So some people just may need time to like let it sink in, and then like they'll seek you out, you know. It's tricky. It's tricky because it's like in that moment you're getting all these pings and you want to share, but you also don't want to like blow up somebody's day and like because you've just like entered into the deepest darkest shadow. So it's a tricky thing.
So I'm hearing I need a disclaimer.
I liked introduction. I would go with the introduction. If you felt like a disclaimer, I don't know. But I also love like part of it as well is um how you explain the connection between the shadow work and the magic. And that I would like that was really eye opening, I think, for me. And I know other cousins have mentioned it. So, like that part of it, I think that a lot of people are hurting, and also we're used to be wanting like a quick fix, and so like saying like this, it's not, this isn't what I'm doing. Like I can't just give you a spell for a quick fix, but this is how this is what I've done and this is what I teach.
Right. And I found that like when I'm in that situation, I'm getting so much like pings about things. I don't
Yeah.
know what to talk about because like everything that my system is wanting knows needs to be talked about is like not a casual conversation with other lots of other people kind of thing. So I just like I clam up.
Right.
And that was what I said near the end of that gathering. I was like, I've been so quiet because like this is what I specialize in, like all of this stuff, but it's from this like shadow work, deconstructing like deep emotional stuff.
Yeah.
And like yeah,
Right. And
um
it's like the readiness on that other side of it too, right? Like because you could they could give you their consent, you could share all this information, and it might not be till 5 years later that they're actually ready to like delve into it. But I wonder, like, enter like an just like an idea that popped up, like entering into these spaces, like your intent to be like sharing like this introduction, and that if that's a line that that person will find you, like will connect with you because you're with giving them the website or the email or whatever, so it's like this is what I do, and if they're really looking, if that really aligns with them, like they'll find you back. And then
I just got pinged about like we are at the resource center entering into what we call the zenith moon, and it's all about your relationship with confidence and sharing your accomplishments and sharing like who you are, right? And I just got pinged that uh some of the holding back is I don't want to go into a space like that and be like, this is who I am, this is what I do, blah 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 blah. Like go Maggie on it, like crash in like the Kool-Aid man, the magical Kool-Aid man, and be like, boom, I'm here, right? Uh, I don't want to be that guy, right? And so my internal ping was like, well, why not? Like,
yeah,
why not? What's wrong with like just going into a space and just saying, "Hey, this is this thing." Like I'm concerned about being rude or
yeah,
concerned about being seen as like egotistical or like, you know, everybody look at me because I'm this like blah, 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 right? I don't want that. So it's holding me back from sharing or being authentic in some spaces like that. So, man,
yeah.
it's a twisted game.
I think it's like well, like it's two things. I think like that you're being authentic. So I think that that's the most important thing. And then, I think that in spaces like there is also value in like listening, so just like having that experience of like listening. But I wonder now that you've had that experience, if you are invited, if it like would be if it feels aligned to like have the conversation like with the shop owner to say like, hey, like how would you like me to if this is like if you know you're entering in with more people just starting out and you are experienced, like maybe just saying like how would you like me to engage, since it's there, like kind of putting it together. And she may have said like, yeah, like we'd love for you to share. Or she might have said like, oh, I just would like to do this, blah, blah, blah. So maybe that's one way to approach it, where you just kind of ask like, is it cool for me to share, or would you just might like me to like hang back?
You're right. I love that. You're right. That just fucking ask, right? Just ask. Thank you, Maria. Ben, I saw your sneaky hand go up. Did you accidentally raise your hand instead of a react? Or
No, I accidentally clicked it off when trying to click it on. I didn't realize it was on. All right. I just wanted to say that I saw the live, and Jack definitely seemed thrown off in the moment, but by the end seemed perfectly okay with having been thrown off. Like he didn't seem like super super uncomfortable by the end of the whole ritual and everything. Um but you could tell it was more like tripping on a rock, right? Like he just kind of like, wait, what's happening? Oh, I see. Okay, yeah, no, I'm good. Because especially when you asked him to get like a piece of paper and pen, the energy that he had when he got up to leave his computer was one of like a kid, like just like so excited, like, oh, I'll be right back. I'll be right back. Don't worry, I'll be right back. It was great. Yeah, so I just wanted to like ease your worry at least a little bit on that.
thank you, Ben. Thank you for that. But yeah, I definitely felt that like, wait a minute. Like because the thing with that is that I had never met Jack before. Fen invited him, so Fen knew what I was about and how I approach things, but Jack didn't. And so I had consent with Fen in ways that I didn't with Jack. Um, and so there was that like, oh shit moment when I felt him stumble like that and felt him kind of like, and it was when I pointed out about uh, rejection in your childhood phase of your authentic self affects how your magic functions as an adult. And so, like, when I brought that up, I could see this like thing, which brought up imagery for me of his childhood and was like, okay, I'm not going to dig there anymore because that's not something that needs to be coming like forward. But because those of you that read, like you get so much information in like a split second. And I had to pause and was like, yeah, never mind. And then we kind of moved on. And uh yeah, when I sent them off on the mission to get stuff, like I could feel that playful excitement. And man, I kind of want a do-over. you know, if they know what to expect. Or I just need to go live just more with more people and doing this so that people are a little bit more prepared because I did notice that my content on TikTok is just like is it's just a sprinkling of what we talk about here and what I really do, right? Um so there's that also. But thank you, Ben. Go ahead, Ocean.
Hey, so I missed the live and I'm sad that I did, but I've been thinking about your experience in the shop space and it's really hard to like walk into like a group of people that you like don't know and it's even harder to like figure out like how to be. But if there's anything that I've learned from talking to you lately, actually, it's that you can't control how other people perceive you, but when you show up in alignment, things happen for the best.
One of my favorite things is when y'all throw my words back at me. Like it's seriously my favorite thing ever because I'm like, yeah. You're absolutely right there. And
Right.
you
And
know, in go ahead.
the other thing I was gonna say is that you may make people feel things other than calm or peaceful, and that's okay. And the way you make people feel is why you're so memorable.
Thank you, Ocean. You know what's interesting is that I'm having feelings about being the center of this conversation at S.A.S.S. Like I see y'all, all of you guys that are like, oh, I'm sorry for like taking up so much space. I'm totally fucking doing that same thing of like, oh, I'm sorry for taking so much space. Ugh. See, we all deal with it, guys. We all deal with it. It's fucking odd, but I appreciate that. Like I am the last few months have been this just really intense processing experience. Uh, I almost like not a coming to Jesus moment, but very much like, okay, like let's take a real look at what the fuck is going on. And um, it's been a wild ride these last few months. And so I appreciate all of you guys. And hey, Petra, what's up? Do you want to weigh in or change the topic? I'm cool with either way.
I would love, um, I would love to weigh in. I'm really glad that you brought this up because I was like, I think this is so interesting. So I have a few little like threads to kind of tie together, but the first one was when you were talking about like kind of that experience of like not wanting to appear egotistical and things. I was like walking around my house being very ADD and doing stuff, and it was like I just had this part of me that was like it wanted to ask you like, but when I info dump about stuff, do you feel that way about me or anyone else? And so that was just the question, is like, because I'm like, I know that I show up in most spaces like the Kool-Aid man. Like that's just like I have one setting. It's intense. Like it's a like it is what it is. And I think that there might be a social conditioning piece here about like how people who are socialized to perform femininity under patriarchy is like that smallness, that like don't be too big, don't be too bright, don't be too much. And I'm like, people who are taught to perform masculinity under patriarchy are not given those messages, and that shit is insidious, like insidious. It's like it just and I'm someone who was my socialization in that department was lacking because my primary caregiver is my like 6'2", like 300-pound, like British father with glasses. Like he has an accent and everyone listens to him the second he walks in a room, and he's the person that I identify the most with. And so I walked into spaces my whole life like just slamming into social norms and being like, what? And then having people have feelings about it and also being deeply autistic and being like, I don't know why you're upset, but I also know it's not my problem. Goodbye. Like, so, and not in an arrogant way, but in a genuinely like, I am confusion. I don't understand. Why do you have so much feelings about like me just talking about what I like? What, and I asked you about what you, I don't get this. This is like, the math was not mathing for me. But I just wanted to share that piece because I'm like, I know that you don't receive people that way. So I think that maybe there's something there to like examine and sit with. And we all are going to have this stuff bubble up every time we expand kind of our capacity or move into new spaces. Like, I think that's the beautiful thing about shadow work, is that it's kind of like you get the themes but you're going to do it a different way, like in a bunch of different permutations. And so it's like, that is the part that I had to learn, I think in therapy, like a couple in residency, where I was sitting with a therapist literally once and being like, wait, like, you mean I'm just going to rinse and repeat on this wound, like, for the rest of my life? Like, I'm just going to learn. And like, I mean, other traditions, like yogic traditions and things, talk about this in terms of like that spiral of like, you're just, and it's about, it's not a, it's, the layers are not about like you failed, but it's about this like, hey, like, you're going to get a different perspective because now you're in a different place. So there's another layer that you now have capacity for. But I was really pissed at that moment. She was like, yeah, I mean, it's, I'm like, no, I need a minute with this. Like, I was so mad. I was like, fuck. So I just wanted to share that story for some reason. I think just to like empathize with like, when we have recurrent stuff, it can feel like failure, and it's really not. It's just actually an indication of our growth. It's like, hey, you've grown to the next layer now, like, welcome. And also it can, because of how our society views growth from a very economical standpoint, it can feel like failure because it doesn't fit that conditioning model of like, no, it's supposed to be more. Like, you're not supposed to do the same thing. It's supposed to be unique and new. And it's supposed to, and it's like, that's not actually how being a human being works at all. And then the other piece that I wanted to bring forward was like a piece to do with polyvagal theory and kind of your experience with Jack. I didn't stay for the whole thing. I was like out grocery shopping, and was like, okay, I gotta go and do the thing because it was very hot outside. But and I do think the disclaimer piece is like, that's brilliant. I think that consent is super important, and I think letting people like, it's almost like a setting the stage, so to speak, right? Like, and letting people participate in a way that feels safe for them. And I think even sometimes if you don't have the opportunity to like give someone the disclaimer beforehand, I agree with what Maria said, like maybe they can find you later. The other thing is too, is even if somebody doesn't have a body-based practice or they're not super connected to their body, asking them to check in with their body, because it will house their trauma responses, will also kind of, is a really good quick way to be like, do you feel safe or not with my, like, does your animal body feel safe with my animal body or no? And I think when because I've had to do that with Reiki or energy work, or like even just like, you know, being pulled to channel for someone and being like, I'm getting all this like whatever, so I just need to check in with you, and I need you to check in with your body before I start, you know, like just whatever's coming out, like gonna come forward. And because intellectually so often people will be like, yeah, I want that. And then you're like, no, I don't. Your mind is gonna say yes. I need to know what the part of you that like is in charge of your fear center says. Like, I don't, and like, because if I trigger you in this and your body's like, I don't have capacity for that, that's very important information for me. I don't know if that is helpful, but that's how I've kind of done it a few times, more than a few, but like, and I think the other piece of that is in my personal experience, both like in healthcare, because I was channeling there and I was like, didn't know it. And I have parts of me that are like, yeesh, that was, but I even had the instincts then, and now I have the theory to back it up of, utilizing our social engagement system. So utilizing that ventral vagal connection, that person to person connection, to help someone regulate through something that's difficult, right? So it's like, if you bring something up and you touch a wound, as long as you're not like gonna dissociate yourself, because the person's body will be able to pick up on that, especially if you're in real space with someone. But is being like, okay, we've opened a little bit of Pandora's box. I didn't know it was there, but I'm here with you. So, and that's probably part of what I'm going to assume, I didn't see the live, but what you saw with Jack is like something got cracked open and there was a little like, whoa, but you all got to sit and be human beings and kind of co-regulate together, and he wasn't alone with it. And so that is hugely impactful. And I think that that's also a piece of like, as whatever people's giftings are, but especially if you channel and things kind of come to you and you're like, I don't know how I know this, like, and you sometimes too, because ADHD, like, I don't have a filter. I just stuff flies in my mouth and I'm like, well, shit, I wish that wasn't outside. I wish that was an inside thought, but now I have to deal with the thing that I just said out loud. And people are like, wait, what? That's something. What do you mean? And what do you know? And I'm like, okay. And I also like will have that reflexive like shit moment, and I always explain like the shit isn't because you're of what I said or what's happening. The shit is like I didn't ask for your permission, and so I need to like be transparent about that. And like I think being really vulnerable in those spaces is really helpful, and being like an over communicator sometimes of just like this is actually what's all happening, because people will label when they're vulnerable or when things are kind of a sensitive nature. Trauma gets to label shit first. Like that's their safety mechanisms. That's how that's going to work, right? So whatever traumatized parts of them are present, or their programming or conditioning will come forward first. Unless you, this is sometimes why I'm like, here, I have so many more words, because I'm like, I want to be abundantly clear about what's actually happening, so that that is clear for the other person. And so to avoid, because I think a lot of times in our society too, people are like, oh, people know, and I'm like, people don't know. No one knows. We're all guessing. We're all making guesses based on like our perspective of the world. And like, and I'm sure you know this, but so I just wanted to kind of offer those things and say, you know, like, I'm excited for this chapter for you of like what you're learning. I think it's really cool, and I think that it's neat to be in community and share these things. And I always appreciate how like in this place, like even people who are in like leadership positions are not like, I'm an expert, I know all the things. It's like that, like very much we're all a beginner at something, or relearning something. Something can like things that have old will always be new again at some point in time in our journeys. And I just think that that's really cool, and I really appreciate that. So I just want to say that.
Thank you, Petra. I often call that the spiral dance, right? That we dance with something, and then we go through life, and then we get another opportunity to dance with it with this new perspective, and we keep going deeper and deeper with the thing. Um, but yeah, totally. Thank you, Petra. All right, Maria, give it to me.
Yeah. So I have this thing that I do where when I'm talking with people, um, I I make an assumption, which I know is not good, but I do. Well, I won't say good. I know good or bad, but I have this thing where when I'm talking to someone, I just think that they know everything that I know. And I don't know if everyone else does that, but like I do it all the time. So it's like when I'm talking to someone, and especially if it's about like these perspectives in magic, which is like, say, if I'm talking with my general family member, like they they haven't even like delved in, and like I'm like sharing this stuff, and it's like sometimes I lose a little. I might like feel exhausting because I'm like, how am I going to explain all of this so they understand it in like this 15 minutes, of like, um, but I realize that I do that thing where I assume everyone like that we're just like somehow energetically connected, and we're like sharing a brain, so we can like have a conversation, but realizing that a lot of the times I needed to like share. And if someone was like ask me what I was doing on like what have you been up to, and not that I want to like script an answer, but I realized that I had to share like enough so that they could like decide if they wanted me to keep going, and like almost like I had to like think about like what is something that I feel good about sharing that's kind of like concise, so that they get enough information like to see if the conversation even aligns, and like moving forward of me like sharing these like deeper things. um and what Petra was saying was a perfect segue into what I was thinking. And like what Petra was saying kind of at the beginning about the like, you know, paraphrasing about like the conditioning kind of aspect of things. But also I know that you're not interested in being like the authority. And so when you're in a group of newer practitioner or people like coming from a dominion based society where there's a power over structure, and you're presenting all of this information and they're like, oh yes, this is everything I've been looking for my whole life, they can also look to you as like the one with all the answers, and that's not what you want. And so that's like an interesting dynamic too, like entering into these places. And like part of your disclaimer, nothing like in the disclaimer, you know, is like really your impact, what, you know, and of course, I've just heard you say it. So I feel okay to say like you want to empower people to come up with their own perspective, their like make their own decisions, and but you just want to give like this information and support people in helping themselves. You're not interested in like telling someone that these are the 10 things you need to do, you know, and like it's more like let me share this information, and then eventually you get to a point with support that you feel confident enough to like forge your own path and what feels aligned with you. But what I wanted to say is like that information is very powerful to people, and that even if you feel like you're sharing just like this beginning, it's very important like for people to hear it. And then like, you know, they may say like, hey, can we, you know, can we meet once a month? And then you can start like, you know, diving in like, okay, now that you know what I'm about, like would you like to dive in like before you, because and I know you're still picking up all this information, but I just wanted to like just place a lot of value on just like sharing your philosophies and perspectives on how you do things, because a lot of people are going to resonate with just that, and it's just very important. I even get like chills talking about it, you know, like so I just wanted to like share that, and from my experience with you and just my experience with other people since then.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you. All right, Kat. What you got?
I just wanted to remind you of something that you probably already know, but your genuineness, and your openness, and your non-judgmentalness are all things that will carry you on all the conversations in every place that you go with where you're going to be, as far as like talking to people and having those conversations with them, that even if they stumble, like somebody said, you're there to catch them. It's like, oh, but you're just so accepting and genuine, and that will lead you really far, as far as like navigating those kind of conversations with them in a gentle way, where they don't feel called out on things if you accidentally say like something that they weren't quite ready to hear. But just being there and with your energy is going to be a really, really wonderful thing for them to have that. And I noticed that in the live too. And I noticed that in a lot of your videos, that just that really openness.
Thank you, Kat. Thank you so much. I love us. You guys are, I mean, I love that I can uh be this like vulnerable. Um and that there isn't this expectation that I have all my shit together and that I know everything and I can come to you guys and be like, "Hey, I'm like this is new and awkward for me and I could use some advice and insight." So thanks, guys. I really do appreciate that, and I'll keep you updated on the on my interactions with local witches. Um, because like they invited me back, and uh, it's funny because they're they're wanting to do like a bonfire, as witches do, right? Um, and they were like asking the people in the group, do you have anywhere that we could meet? And blah blah blah. Everyone there, and the closest place that they had access to is like over 30 minutes away, right? It's a long drive from the oddity shop. But again, my house is like 7 minutes from the oddity shop and literally designed to entertain. Like it's the ideal home for entertainment. But Maggie and my partner have made me promise not to bring strangers to the house. So I was like, yeah, my manager and my partner are like no strangers at the house. So I was really proud of myself for not like, hey, everyone, you should just come over. This is the boundaries that I'm talking about that I'm really trying to maintain because I have like traditionally been been that guy of like, yeah, everyone just come here. It's always been very open. I've always been very like um community centered in that way. The community houses that I used to run, we were known for our parties. Like I'd throw big, massive parties like every week. The potluck that we had every week, there's like 80 to 100 people that would show up in a residential like house in downtown Portland. Um, so yeah, there are so many parts of that interaction that I was really proud of myself for having these like healthier boundaries about. But then that awkwardness of like how much do I actually engage in this? So now look how big that puppy is. Oh my God. Does anyone else, I mean, not that I'm like uncomfortable talking. We can talk about me if you guys want. Like we can keep going. Like I'm cool with that. Uh in fact, another aspect of what I've been working on lately is realizing so the past couple years since since I started on TikTok and then we got the resource center going and all that, the resource center has been my entire focus for like 2 years. Uh, literally calling myself like a sweatpants goblin. So all I had like 5 identical pairs of sweatpants that I would rotate through. That's all I wore. Like I didn't put any effort really into what I how I presented. One because I never left my little office because I was always working. Uh, but self-expression through fashion has been such a big part of my life, and that whole part of me and the things that I enjoy, I abandoned. I didn't do any of that. I didn't even own a full-length mirror for the last like 2 years. And uh which I do now. I do now. Uh but that has been this other thing as I'm seeking more balance in my life of awareness of, oh wow, I have not been like investing in my own like personal expression in a really long time. And so I started to um bring my attention back to my wardrobe. And before this work that I've done of the last 2 before my sweatpants goblin phase, right? The clothes that I wore, very layered corsets, leather, chain, like very, uh, intricate, complicated, but uncomfortable as shit, like 5-inch heels most of the time. But because of the work that I've been doing and cultivating this relationship with my physical body and understanding my my neurodivergent mind and how my system processes sensory information, I realized how much I was like hindering my system because of how engaged my sensory processing was when I was uncomfortable, right? Because who's comfortable in a corset? Who's comfortable wearing leather? Like, seriously, right? Or 5-inch heels. Cute as shit, but they're not super, like, right? Um, so when I realized that I can't put my body through that anymore, I'm not going to force myself to wear shoes that hurt. I'm not going to wear clothes that pinch or restrict. So now what, right? And so I have reimagined my like personal self-expression through clothing and am playing with a completely different aesthetic than what I was doing before. Uh, and I think that, no matter how, um, like, there's no way. I mean, the way that I dress always draws attention, always has been. And so that was another thing that I was like hyper aware of at this gathering of like, oh, uh, I'm incapable of blending in because that's just not what I do. Uh, but that this whole like reinventing the like external um presentation through my aesthetic has been really like interesting and fun. I mean, I've been going into okay, so no, the fashion designer almost jumped up and was about to go off on down a totally different road. But yeah, that's been really yeah, don't get me started on undergarments either because I think that a lot of it is fucking bullshit and uh fuck all of that stuff. Anyway, uh so yeah, this I'm doing this transformation thing on a lot of levels. And this reinventing of uh what does self-expression through fashion look like when my body has a place at the table with the decision making, right? And that I guess this is a very long-winded way of saying that's interesting, isn't it? And the realization that none of my TikTok videos show full body anything either because I haven't put any kind of like "Meh." And I realize that that's a part of like me and my experience that I'm withholding. And so I've been that's just stuff that I've been thinking about. So go ahead, Maria.
Well, I did want to say we had done some, well, Wit and you did some shoots for some stuff for the spring, and that you were full body for a lot of that. So just a reminder. I think it's funny because I think sometimes the stuff that like happens is like a preview. Like you get these like little snippets, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, this is why we did that, and it's like coming, more coming out in a deeper way. But that I just thought that was interesting that like most of your content was full body shoots.
Are you talking about the like trudging through the snow in
Yeah,
big coats and stuff? Yeah. That might
yeah,
have been a little bit of what kind of woke that up because as Whit and I were like going through my wardrobe trying to figure out what do I wear for this like photo shoot, I was like, oh shit. Like I don't have anything in my closet that is actually reflects like who I am because I haven't when I moved to Alaska, I sold off all of my clothing that I used to wear because I was going into hermit mode. And when I moved to Alaska, I thought I was going to be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life. Like, I'm not going to wear a corset and, all of this like intricate costuming, um, rolling around in the Alaskan bush with my parents in a wheelchair, right? Uh, so all of my like go-to really great pieces for photography and film, I didn't have anymore. I'd gotten rid of those, except for that coat that I wore in the videos. So yeah, that was the thing. But go ahead, Kat.
It's interesting you bring this up because that's something that I'm doing right now too. Is my whole body changed, so I've been re-examining my wardrobe and trying to decide who I'm going to be as far as what my clothes look like and what kind of uh, presentation I want to make because I used to have like everything that matched perfectly with the shoes that matched and the nail polish that matched and my hair was done, my purse matched, and then I had kids and they started fitting up on all my clothes and I'm like, this makes no sense. I'm just gonna go to like t-shirts and like sweatpants and I wore those for years because hey, they're comfortable and I don't have to worry about them because if they get messed up, whatever. It was a $2 t-shirt. But now I'm like, oh, I'm tired of wearing this stuff. I want to go back to, figuring out who I am. But I've never been able to wear high heels, like ever. I tried putting my feet in them, but I cannot wear heels. And I didn't know. I thought I was just being like a giant wuss about it. But I went to give my friend a foot massage one time because I was just feeling like really generous. And I thought, I'll just give you a foot massage. And I'm like, dang it, you have pads on the bottom of your feet. And she's like, what? I'm like, you can feel the bone in the bottom of my foot as I'm standing. And I'm like, this is why other people can wear heels and I can't. And I'm like, so it's kind of weird, but yeah. I was listening to my body at the same time too, and it's like, no, we're not doing this.
Thank you for sharing, Kat. Yeah, you gotta want to wear those like 5-inch heels so bad that you put your feet through torture to build those pads. You gotta want it really, really bad. It's so funny. Go ahead, Wit.
So, as usual, funny how this is also coming up in my life right now as well too, um, in a few different aspects. And it kind of ties into all the things we were talking about too, because with the dance studio closing, I realized I haven't danced in a very long time, besides like, boogieing here or there. Last time I danced was when we were at the spring convergence. So um, I was like, it's important to me and my body and my spirituality and all of my system to be dancing and learning new things with my body and getting reconnected with it. So um, I did the thing, faced a danger rush, and I went and took some dance classes. I did it online first because I was like, I don't know, different style of dance. And if anybody's ever ballroom danced, like, yes, it is a lot of work, but it's not like a like ballet or modern or anything like that. It's a completely different like workout, not nearly as intense. Um, and so I did it and, um, faced quite a few danger rushes of what if I look stupid or silly or don't know what I'm doing, or what if I go there and everybody else knows what they're doing and here I am lanky and like, whatever over here on the side. Um, and it was amazing. Um, you know, the in-person one so much more than the online one. I think I found a new um, studio to go dance at. And in fact, the one that I did in person was dancing with mindfulness, um, which was, I've got so many ideas now. I got it just like triggered and brought up so many, like not triggered in a good way of like, I've got so many things to bring to the community now with it. Um, but it was really learning to let go and be in a place that was really vulnerable of here I am. And of course they were very open and welcome and it was great. Um, so that was, going into a space that like, how do I show up here? Especially going into like dancing with mindfulness too. And, they're talking about energy and, connecting with other people in the room and stuff like that. I was a little kind of the same way of thinking of like, how do I connect? And if I connect spiritually and
with how I know how to connect with people now, is that what they're looking for? And like, do I have their consent to do that? I didn't feel like I did because I don't know their understanding of that kind of connection and energy work, So um, it was an interesting, like, I don't know, thought process, theory of like working through like what does informed consent actually mean, versus like, yeah, we're all here and the instructor said, connect with the person, find somebody to connect with. And I'm like, what does that really mean, Um, and then I also find myself today, so we have an event at the studio um, that we're still going to do. We're bringing in one of the RuPaul drag queen winners, the most recent, Sasha Colby, tomorrow for a um, big show. And looking through my wardrobe of what I want to wear and thinking about, okay, what is like the acceptable dress for something like this versus like what I want to wear are two very different things now. Um, and so trying to figure out how to merge through it, I am going to wear a pair of 5-inch heels, and I think my feet are going to cry because of it because I haven't worn heels very often recently. Um, and so I'm also thinking about how do I prepare my body for that too, knowing I'm going to put it through a little bit more than what it's used to now, and like preparing it, and then what I'm going to do afterwards on Tuesday to uh, bring it back in. But like trying to figure out too about how do I what is my new aesthetic, like I'm over here rhinestoning a little headband thing because I was like that I feel like that's more my style now. So here it is that I'm going to wear tomorrow, at least maybe wear. And I'm like trying to figure out a way to bring in like feathers to my outfit and things like that. Like it's really interesting being in your late 30s or not in your 20s anymore and redefining your aesthetic. So I feel you there, Jen.
Thanks, Wit. Yeah, right. Let me see. I can't see who's Carolyn. Hi.
Hi. Um, yeah, it's interesting that we're talking about like redefining through who, showing who we are through our wardrobe, because I have been such a t-shirt and jeans person all through my 50s. And even a little before, but at least before I could find clothes that fit better. But since my body has changed so much and I'm so hyper aware of it and how clothes fit, I have my t-shirt and jeans or my t-shirt and shorts. And then I have the dress that I wore to my daughter's wedding and nothing in between. I had to skip two funerals, two family funerals, because I had nothing to wear. And the thought of going out and shopping just, words are gone. Just scared the hell out of me. And I would like to have something besides t-shirt. I love my jeans, but I would love to have a summer dress that I feel comfortable in, or more than one pair of shorts that fit. um, I would love to have t-shirts that don't have holes in them. I would love to have shirts that aren't t-shirts. But going out to shop for those, it's energy draining. I hate doing it by myself. So if anybody wants to come to Cincinnati and help me shop, yeah, come on down, sweetie. Yes, Whit, you may come. You were invited. I have an extra bedroom.
I'll bring Dandy, and then Willow and Dandy can hang out then too.
Oh, that would be amazing. Because, I mean, my husband is very patient, but he's not going to tell me the truth on, how does this look. The person that I used to go clothing shopping with, I have cut ties with. So it's like, but yeah, yeah. I'm 58 years old. I don't mean being, not that t-shirt and jeans is bad. I love my t-shirt and jeans. They're comfy. But some occasions call for something better than that. And it would be nice to have those in my closet to, you know, show who I really am and not just some slob sitting around in my t-shirt and jeans. I don't know. Continue.
It's incredibly frustrating. Fashion can be incredibly frustrating, especially because of all of the trauma that so many of us have about fashion. And like getting to the point where like so many of us have so much going on and are so like outwardly focused, especially like, yes, parents, I'm looking at you. Where we just kind of like we give up. It's too much. And so let's just like have a cookie cutter wardrobe so we don't have to think about it, right? And like that was one of the things I loved about working in fashion design was working with people like you, Carolyn, and be like, all right, let's design you the perfect sundress and let's do this. And this can be your go-to special sundress that you have that you wear to things. So I see you. I feel you. It's a frustrating thing. And like, wouldn't it be cool if we could just like do a like Zoom call or something? Let's go shopping together and be able to do that kind of stuff. Like that would be great because we need support.
Yeah.
And like I try not to buy new clothes
Mhm.
because there's so much like secondhand resale kinds of things that just go to landfills. Like it's a big problem. Um, but man, would I love to go thrift shopping with you, Carolyn. I wish. Maybe I can lure you to Alaska and do it again. Not that Alaska has great thrift shops because, but thank you for
Ooh.
sharing.
I was
I
going to say
can't.
maybe I could lure you to Cincinnati.
Maybe. Um, I can't see the lineup of who is next.
I think
Who's
Chana is next.
Next. Yes, Tana's next.
Thank you.
I think
I
Karen
can't.
had a weigh in though. Hi. I thought
I
Karen had a weigh
Yeah,
in.
I'll just go real quick. Identifying with that so much, Caroline. Being at that age where it's like, I don't need anything that's going to push the girls back up, like I needed when I was 35 and 40, the miracle water bras and everything like that. Right. Oh yeah, yeah, push them right up to your nose. But there's no reason for that. And squeezing my feet into shoes that are shaped like this, wow, beautiful. I love shoes, and the higher the better, and the more money that it's like I was making $3,000 a week, you know easy. But my back is now totally shot, and I mean, for all of 6-inch platform heels 4 or 5 nights a week, ow. But we were cute and we were fun, and you know wearing sleeveless whatever in the middle of February because it was cute and it matched the shoes and purse perfectly and all this stuff. And then you hit like 45 and you're like, suddenly, can I get my coat, flats? And no, 2 glasses of Chardonnay and I'm good, thanks. It But then, I mean, then I start, grappling with like hair coloring. It's like I dyed it purple. That was the first thing that I had never done before. But now do I go back to hiding the gray? Not so far. But these are all the questions you start to ask when you transition over to the crone phase. And I love the idea. I have made my wardrobe very you guys have seen the same black dress. There's four of them. And then I have a white and black stripe and a black and white stripe. Yeah, because it's quick, it's easy, and it's comfortable. And at this stage in my life, I'm so grateful that I can make it no nonsense like that, and I don't have to adhere to a dress code. And it's like I will never wear Spanx again. I don't care who's getting married or how many dresses, people in the wedding party. No, I will never wear Spanx again.
Yeah, and
Just
and even when I was skinny, my mom had to make my clothes for me because I couldn't find anything that fit right. I'm not built like a normal human being. I don't think any of us are. But to find a top that fits, if I buy something that fits around my waist and my hips, it's too big here. If I find something that fits here, it's too tight there.
right.
I want comfort as well as something that looks nice and feels good. Because I remember my mom would like bring things in and it would be so tight under my arms it would be uncomfortable. Ugh. No wonder I hate shopping.
The self-loathing of shopping and looking into a mirror is always and that's over. I think last year I kind of, after going through the body disidentification and really processing things, but I've reached a point that I don't give a flying because my body is where I'm going to be right now. It's like sometimes you work too many hours and you don't realize. I saw somebody that's constantly in uniform. Scrubs are the enemy. They will make you forget how big you've gotten without realizing it until it's like, man, but when you get so caught into wearing them. But when it's time and when your body, I just want to be happy and comfortable. And I don't self-loathe as much when I look in the mirror, and I am beyond the point of having to, how's this going to look and how does my butt look? My butt looks fine. It works even better. You can kiss it if you want.
Fucking love you, Karen. Love you.
Love you guys. See you in the cafe.
I love you and your butt.
Hi, Jenna.
Hi, Jen Marie. So I mean, like the same thing. I gained a lot of weight when I got married. And like I think I have 3 kids and I started every pregnancy where I ended the last one. And but I still always managed to like try to look nice. Like I have jeans and t-shirts, but like always like jewelry and heels. And I would not leave the house without a full face of makeup and my hair done. Um And so I did that for a lot of like, and then I was in like sales and stuff for a few years. And then I went into like this, I don't know, maybe we all did, but I went into like this deep depression in 2020. So I spent an entire year in my sweats watching Netflix. I think I watched all of Netflix and probably all of Hulu. Um, and when I came out of that in 2021, and then my friend and I started business. Anyway, there's a point to this. We started a business, so we started doing stuff. So I started like doing stuff more, but I found that I didn't go back to like that.
Jana, we lost you. I think your mic cut out, if you can hear me.
For me.
Oh, there.
Um, And so it just kind of, it changed like my whole style. But like, and then I left my religion, which I was Mormon. So there were like the magic underwear that like, down to your knees, cover your shoulders, because apparently shoulders are, of the devil. But so like and then I lost like 50 pounds, like in this process too. So, and then gained back 10, like my body, my poor body doesn't know what to do. And now like, as I've gotten more into like the yoga and the witchy and the spiritual and stuff, I'm gravitating to flowy skirts and stuff. And it's like, I don't know, I'm having like this fashion, like bipolar episode or something. And it's so weird. And then I'm like, am I costuming? Is this because I'm neurodivergent? And like, because I like, is my whole personality now witch? Am I like the neighborhood witch and now I've got to like dress like it? So I don't know. And I'm 47, so I don't think we ever really get over the whole like yeah. But but it's also made me realize that I spent most of my life, especially my adult life, dressing to fit in. Like, yes, I wore like I was trying to look cute, but I was dressing to be mainstream. I was dressing to like fit in. And then I was a cheer and tumbling coach, and my daughters were in cheer for like 17 years. And so it was always that trying to fit in with the cool girls type of thing. You know what I mean? Not necessarily what my style was. So here I sit at 47. My body's doing weird things. I don't know who I am. I don't know how to dress. I don't know what my style is anymore. I'm starting to gravitate towards black t-shirts. And I'm just wondering, like, when does that ever slow down? Does that change? Or am I just like, is this going to be an ongoing thing where I'm like, can't settle into a style? Or am I just like, should I just like give in and just become like the neighborhood witch and like go full on, you know, black skirts and stuff? I don't know. Those are just kind of my thoughts on the stuff. And it's just hard when our bodies change so much, like with Carolyn, like when we gain weight, we have issues. When we lose weight, we have issues. And they don't change. I mean, I literally lost 50 pounds in 3 months. The reason is because I was diagnosed with diabetes and a bunch of stuff, and I just like went full board into like saving myself, like coming back and healing myself, which I did because my new doctor didn't realize I was diabetic. So that was kind of fun. She's like, well, you're not now. But the way people treat you is different. And I notice like, especially in my family, we have a lot of like really, 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 really toxic things around like diet culture and body image and stuff like that. And so I found that when I started getting a lot of attention of you look so great. Oh my gosh, you're so skinny. Keep in mind, I am only like 5'4", and I was still at like 175 pounds. I'm not skinny, like, but I lost enough it was noticeable. You know what I mean? And it made me really uncomfortable to the point where I actually ended up going no contact with my mom because of it. Um, there's a little more to that. Like, it wasn't like she told me I would like looked great and I cut her off. It wasn't, but there was just so much of that. And then I gained back like 15 pounds over the last 9 months. And I think it's just my body, like I can't settle in, you know? And it's like I'm not comfortable. I wasn't comfortable when I weighed more. I wasn't comfortable when I weighed less. I don't like that it's just I don't know what I'm supposed to wear. I don't know how a 47-year-old is supposed to dress. Um, Pretty much the only thing I know right now is I am never going back to the magic underwear thing. Like, so help me, I will live in tank tops and 3-inch inseam shorts every summer for the rest of my life until I'm like 90 at this point, because it is so much more comfortable, in case you were wondering. And Jen's over the laughing because she grew up in the same culture. Anyone that grew up in like purity culture, I'm sure. But anyway, I don't know. So if anyone has like settled into their style and their body and has any, insight, that'd be great. That was it. I
I
just
have
needed to spew
so
a little bit.
much I have so much to say. on this, but I'm gonna play by the rules. Maria goes first, and then Ocean, and then I'll jump in.
Yeah. I'm excited to hear what you have to say, Jen Marie. So I hear you, Carolyn and Chana, totally. Like in high school, I lost weight just so I could fit into the biggest size jeans that Contempo Casuals had. I don't know, like there was this really trendy store called Contempo Casuals, and I couldn't fit into any of their clothes. And now I only wear leggings. So I'm like, during this conversation, I'm like, that's probably why you don't own any jeans, and the ones you have are like leggings. But I have gone like definitely through a lot of iterations of everything that y'all were talking about, as to like, should I be still wearing sparkly makeup? Should my hair still be this long? And then when I turned 30s and now into my 40s, like, yeah, like what's age appropriate? Blah, blah, blah. And I mean, and then now, like, just with doing kind of the shadow work and the deconstruction piece, I'm just really like, fuck it. What do I want to wear? And that's really all that matters. And I'm not saying that that's like always like super easy and to do, but like it's almost just like that piece of it where it's just like, this is what I want, and then I'm not going to I don't subscribe to like I call them fake rules, like what you're supposed to wear and this and that. And then like there's trendy things, and sometimes that can be fun. Like I think some of the 80s stuff was really fun, and the neon colors and stuff like that, but it's cuz I liked it. So it's just like I'm just going to wear things from my hair to my makeup when I feel like wearing makeup, to my clothes, that I just like, but that also feel like comfortable to me. But there definitely, I think, is some like inner work when it comes to that, to just be like, I don't care what anyone else thinks, this is what I look like. And identifying as a witch helps me in that confidence, be like, I'm a witch, I don't have those rules, I can wear whatever I want if I want to like look super witchy or whatever. But I definitely resonate with you. I know like in my group of friends have struggled with like a lot of the same things, and like looking back to like wishing some of my friends going through things like this conversation is helping to, like, when stuff like that comes up, how to kind of be more supportive in that area, because it comes up a lot. So that's all I had to say.
It looks like Ocean is next on the way in. So go ahead.
Yes. So Maria totally hit on like pretty much like what I wanted to say, but I also just wanted to add another little piece to it. Um, because my reasoning is a little bit different. And that it's kind of a form of classism to make people like dress a certain way for like jobs, for showing up for dinner, for funerals, for weddings, like. And I come from a place of like having been homeless at one point in my life and not having like clothes to show up in other than like jeans or t-shirt or leggings and a t-shirt. And honestly, to be a little vulnerable coming from a place of like not even having a bra for probably the past 7 years of my life, I haven't been able to find one that fits me and meets my sensory needs. And so when I was going through aesthetics school, they told me that I couldn't work on the floor if I didn't get a bra. Um, and even though I was paying for school and everything, and one of my counselors was talking to me and like was like, just do the best you can and just show up. And I realized that like, especially going through like this like shadow work program, that like it's a form of classism. Like it really is a form of classism to say you have to look a certain way. You don't have to look any way. You can show up. I have shown up to a funeral in jeans and a t-shirt. I'm sorry, I keep bringing that up because that breaks my heart, Carolyn, that you had to miss out on community grieving, an opportunity for that because you didn't feel like you could show up as yourself. And you are absolutely good enough exactly how you are. You don't have to get dressed in the morning. You don't have to do your, like, I mean, you don't have to like get dressed up, you know, you have to get dressed, but you don't have to do your hair. You don't have to put anything on your face. You are absolutely, except for sunscreen. I'm a big advocate for sunscreen, but uh, other than that, you're perfectly acceptable, like exactly how you are. And I just really want to share that message because I have feelings. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Ocean. Okay, so I'm putting on the fashion designer hat. So when you're trying to figure out what your sense of style is, right? This is what I used to suggest for the people that I'd work with. Get a Pinterest board or a Pinterest account if you don't have one, and start a board uh, that is of clothes that you like. Okay. So you can start by looking up sundresses, right? So you put sundresses in the search and you just start saving the sundresses that you think are amazing, right? And what will happen is your feed will start filling with like things, right? And just continue building that board. Eventually, an aesthetic will start coming up in your feed, which is what happened like with me recently. Um, as I'm kind of redefining my aesthetic, I've always been rebellious in the way that I dress. I'm like, fucking tell me what to wear kind of attitude when it comes to like, I'd show up at a funeral in a Minotaur costume if I wanted to and would do that. Like, but I like deconstructed clothing, right? Things that look kind of like shabby a little bit. So I put in deconstructed clothing, right? And I start saving the things that I like. And eventually it comes up with an aesthetic, which came up as like wasteland aesthetic, which I love that so much. So I'm super into the like wasteland aesthetic, but I didn't know that that was the name of the aesthetic until I started like going through, this search process. Um, and once you have that and what will happen is you'll start seeing that you repeat a specific like silhouette is what they call it. So it's certain shape of a dress, or a neckline that you really like. And when you go shopping, like to a thrift store or something, look for that neckline, look for that silhouette. And don't waste your time on any of the other things, right? It helps you kind of like narrow your beautiful ADHD brain that likes this color of thing. So we're not looking at that. We're looking at like shapes of things. And that really helps with um, kind of defining your personal aesthetic. And sometimes we have that really broad spectrum of, today I want to wear the sundress thing. And then tomorrow I want to go like super edgy goth or something like that. And you can do that. Eclectic is an aesthetic as well. You don't have to be defined by that. And when you focus on clothes that you're comfortable in, that make you feel uh, like aligned, powerful, whatever that looks like. Clothes that make you feel powerful. And they can be powerful in any like specific feeling signature, right? Powerfully like flowy, powerfully witchy, powerfully mysterious. You you can do that. Um, I hope that helps. I know that like the and then you have your boundaries with your clothing. That's the other thing, right? The texture of the fabric, the like waistline. I refuse to wear a fitted waistline anymore. If it's not like a fold over like yoga waistline, I'm not gonna fucking put it on my body. I'm not gonna do that. But I can cut out a waistline and put in a different one, which is what I tend to do, right? So I can have like fitted at the bottom, and I've like put on a different waistline so it fits me. Uh, but that's a boundary with my clothing. I won't wear shapewear. If it requires shapewear to do it, I'm not going to do it. I'm not even going to look at it. Um, I'm not even going to look at something with the waistband that I don't want to do. I refuse to wear a garter belt anymore because I don't want to fuck with like that kind of stuff, right? So, yeah, all tags need to be banned. So, figure out your boundaries with your clothing, and then start looking at like shapes. What kind of shapes do you like? And that's just going to help you define that. So, I hope that that's helpful. Uh, and Yes, you guys are awesome. The other thing, and this is a rule that I don't follow myself, and I realized that I wasn't following, is when you invest in clothing, invest in an outfit at a time instead of just, oh, that's a pretty shirt, bloop, and buying that up, because eventually you'll get to where, oh, I have this beautiful shirt, but it doesn't match or go with anything that I own. And so it sits on the hanger and I never wear it, even though it's great, right? So when you're investing in clothing, invest in outfits and keep those outfits together so that you have that simple factor too, that you're not having to put in a lot of effort or thought because you know this looks good, you know you feel great in it, right? So, and yeah, do with that what you will. I hope that was helpful. And yeah, love you guys.
And then Beth Ann had a weigh in before I go.
Hi. So I turned 50 this year, and I used to work in like in-person corporate office, and they had rules and regulations around that about wearing suits. Um, and I'm kind of a gothy girl. I wear Doc Martens still. I've been wearing them since high school. I will not give them up. I do not like high heels, and I remember having a manager say like, "Those are cute, but they're not appropriate for work." And I was like, they're on my feet. It doesn't prevent me from doing my job. It doesn't prevent me from functioning in society. And I have to say, this sounds weird. I'm grateful for COVID because my job switched to working at home. So I can wear whatever the fuck I want when I want to, makeup, no makeup. But I definitely still like, even as the mom to three small kids, I'm the weird mom and I celebrate it. And my kids love that I'm the weird mom and that I just dress how I want to dress and I don't care. And I think when, as you get older, you kind of stop caring about those societal norms. And I'm saying that with air quotations. Or if you've watched that show with Sofia Vergara where she says air bunnies, um, I just don't care, anymore what people think. I cut my hair how I want to, and I dress in the things that make me feel good in my body, whatever that is. If it's a dress or leggings and a t-shirt or jeans, whatever it is, however I feel that day. And I think just, knowing yourself and your aesthetic, what feels good for you is so important. And life's too short to put yourself in clothes that don't make you feel like you. I was just talking to a friend about this and I was like, what age is it? Because my ex mother in law did this where she just put on things and she looked so uncomfortable in her skin. Like there wasn't a style, it was like whatever fit. And I was like, you can pick things you love and get them altered or alter them. There's like simple things you can do with the hair elastic to change the shape. T-shirts are always too boxy on me, and I always roll up a part of the shirt and knot it and make it a little bit more fitted so it's more flattering. But it's like you don't have to give up on the things you love just because we get older or because you work in an office or anything like that. Just, be authentic to yourself and just love wear the things you love. You're beautiful inside and out. So just be you. Everyone else can just deal with it.
Thank you for that, Beth Ann. Okay, so this has been my biggest struggle for the past year. As I've been working on my relationship with my body, I am definitely more comfortable in my own skin. And I'm comfortable with the shape of it and everything else. But finding clothes to fit and that are comfortable is nearly impossible for me right now. Even with ordering online and like taking my measurements, getting the clothes, it still does not fit right whatsoever. And it has a lot to do with the different body types here for Japan. And a lot of the clothes, even online, it is very much made for an Asian body type, which is extremely, extremely different from a Western body type. So that has been very interesting to experience as I'm going through this whole like learning to build this relationship with my body and really feel at home together with my body and not fall into those bad habits again of judging every little piece of myself and being like, well, if I was just, my hips were a little bit smaller, or I didn't have a butt, or, if I was like just like 5 inches shorter, I could fit in all the clothes perfectly fine because I really like the style of the clothes. But that just doesn't work out that way. So it has definitely been a struggle, and it is very eye-opening with how we look at clothes and how we identify with them in so many different levels. And it has really allowed me, though, to help my children and be like, get whatever feels comfortable. I don't care. I'm like, if you are comfortable in it, then that's completely fine. And I have severe trauma with jeans in middle school because I got teased they were high waters because I couldn't get jeans that were long enough because my family couldn't afford longs. At that time, that was not a common thing for jeans to have was the longer inseam. So I got teased really bad. Whereas both of my teenagers are really tall and long legs, and they like that. They're like, oh, I'm fine. I'm like, I tell my daughter all the time, I'm like, it's my trauma. I just want to make sure that you're comfortable in it. So I'm not going to say anything, but that's also the style here in Japan. So that helps as well for her and my son, because neither one of them can find pants that are long enough for them right now. And we're almost to the point that neither one of them can find shoes easily because their feet are so big. So it has been a very eye-opening experience, and it definitely makes me look at clothes a different way. I definitely have for a while now have just lived in workout clothes. I've done that since I became a personal trainer. It gave me that permission to be like, oh, I'm a personal trainer. So, I can just wear workout clothes. And that's probably the most comfortable clothes I have right now. And the only ones that like fit, which again leads to another thing of here in Japan, everyone's put together when they leave the house. They don't go around in workout clothes. Like it's very rare that you see someone like in sweats or something like that. And if you do, it's like early in the morning or like they're going to like the gym or something. Um, Otherwise they're all put together, like they're dressed to go somewhere. So it's been interesting and definitely have learned a lot from it, but I definitely am ready to be able to buy clothes that fit and that are comfortable and that I enjoy wearing, and hopefully that'll be sometime in the near future. So, yeah, that's been my experience. So I feel everyone and everything they're experiencing right now because it's been highlighted for a year, like in my face. Like, hey, don't forget that you can't buy clothes. So yeah, I thought I'd share that. And I think Morgana is next.
This is a very pertinent subject to me. Being a person who lives the trans experience. Um, so prior to figuring out that I was trans, for the most part, I would just buy things that happened to fit and wear things that covered my body. So I was like, oh, this is a chore. I hate this. Nothing looks good. I don't like anything black. Um, then I figure out part of the why. I like begin my social transition and I start like wearing what I want. And I'm later in life and I get to go through the experience that people usually go through in their early teens in my 30s. So I have no idea what goes together and what doesn't. I just know what I like and I just throw things together. So a lot of the time I look like a middle schooler and I don't care. And my femme partner occasionally would be like, "You really want to do that?" So they did give me some guidance, but I had this compressed timeline of the high school fashion experience, um, and this isn't a shared experience because trans people get together and talk about it. So, within a year to 2 years, maybe 3 years, you completely reinvent your look, like from the top down. And so I went through all these different phases and I enjoyed each one. And then I finally landed where I wanted. Um, and then I'm accused of saying things that are really profound just out of the blue. I don't know. I just say stuff. Um, I was sitting with my partner and they were all dressed up and I was like, oh, I should have took more time. I should have put on makeup and stuff. And then I sat there for a minute and then I was like, my femininity is not performative. And then I was like, I did a double take and I was like, what did I just say? And that has stuck with me from that point on. And it's given me the freedom to do wear what I want. If I want to wear makeup that day, it's for me, not anybody else. So that gives me the choice to do that for me. And it's given me the freedom to just be me for me. And I'm so happy I got to this point. I'm hoping that there's a way that can be like put forward, help so many other people so they don't have to struggle as much and they don't have to deal with all that bullshit in between and not have to deal with I'm not good enough, I don't have this, that, the other thing. Oh, they're so much prettier because they have this, that, or the other thing. Your beauty, your appearance, your femininity, or your masculinity is not performative, and it's perfect just the way it is. You're a shiny star as is. The way you wake up in the morning. So there you go.
We've got 4 minutes remaining, guys. So we want to be mindful of time for our mods. So who is next? Maria.
I just have something really quick. So, there was like some comments in the chat about like doing the boards and feeling like it was all over, could be like all over the place, whatever that means to you. But I just wanted to share something that I do that maybe will help. So, when I'm looking for like clothing, whatever it is, when I'm looking for an item, because I can like hyperfixate and I will research the heck out of something and I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? So, what I try to do is kind of work with my system on it. And so, like what Jen Marie said, and like, the kind of being sent things that you like is helpful. But I wait till I get like a zing or like, oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. And I love that. Like, I wait till I get that's like feeling. And then I know like follow that direction because I can just be like, oh, this is like, this kind of goes together. I need these 5 things because that's like what makes sense. But that just got too much. And so I was just sharing that, like what I just kind of my process is like, I wait till I get like that excitement feeling when I see something and then I follow that. And then that's kind of what I'll put on my board or like I'll save things in my cart or whatever. And sometimes I just like save things for a really long time, just kind of go back and I use kind of like my save later as like my Pinterest board in a way to like look back on. But so if that helps, cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Petra, for sharing. Did you want to was that enough or because we got a couple minutes if you want to pop on or we can go to Kat.
I'll just say it really quick so that if anybody isn't reading the chat, then they can hear and then they can support how they feel necessary, like feel called to. I just was texting with Julie this morning, and I know that her dog Blue has like been having some weird stuff. We kind of like had a little like witchy swap for energy work for her puppy and then for witchy stuff because that's like the best part about having witchy friends is like, hey, want to trade for things? But she's just waiting to hear back from the vet today about whether or not Blue has lymphoma. And so Blue's had like lost a bunch of weight and things like that and was like not really eating and some but like otherwise was like doing okay. And so she just actually openly asked, like I was gonna ask her once I read the first part of the message, I was gonna be like, oh, can we do anything or whatever? But she was like, if people could send her some support, she would be really open to that and receptive and like that would be really welcome. So whatever feels comfortable in your body in terms of that and you feel called to, I would say listen to that. Julie's a pretty spooky lady. So I'm sure her guides are like gonna ping everybody about whatever specifically feels good and is right in the moment and just trust your gut because I think in these times like it can be hard. And yeah, I just wanted to make sure that got said. So that's all. Thanks guys though.
All right, Kat, we got 1-2 minutes and go.
I do only have one small thing to say, and that is reiterating that you should always be your authentic self and not worry about what other people say. And as a 58-year-old who is authentically their self with purple hair, sometimes I'll show up in this little skirt and this, I'm like, so I have one with skulls and sunflowers, and I have my hair up in pigtails, and I'm wearing a cute little shirt, and I have yet to have anybody say anything negative about it. They just look at me and go, "That's just you, Kat. It looks so cute." And even the customers, when I come through the store, they're like, "Oh, I love the way your hair looks today." I haven't had anybody go, "You're too old to wear your hair in pigtails. Like, you need to take that down." Nobody. So I think people are a lot more accepting than you give them credit for sometimes. And if they aren't, that's their problem.
Very well said. Thank you, Kat. All right, everyone. You guys are my favorite bunch of weirdos. Thank you for sharing all of your everything and for showing up. And yeah, may your practice be expansive and filled with many blessings, bright and dark. See you guys next week. Bye.